If you think we're at the peak of every athlete having a podcast, we are just getting started. As the format goes video first, the opportunity for athletes is only continuing to grow as podcasts become more entertaining, accessible, and monetizable for creators. Today, we're talking to an NFL player who is stepping into the opportunity. Khari Blasingame of the Chicago Bears is the host of Business of Athletes, a podcast that is building a community of current and former athletes using their talents off of the field. 4 seasons into the NFL and 1 season into his podcast, Khari is stepping into his creator era and showing athletes at all levels that they can do the same. And in this episode, you will learn how Khari developed the Business of Athletes plan, his advice on how to start a podcast while playing sports at a high level, insight on the business doors that podcasting opens for athletes, and the steps that you can take to bring your idea from 0 to 1. Welcome back to New Game Labs, where we help creators in sports level up in business. It's your host, Kirby Porter. I would love to hear your thoughts as you're listening. You can leave us a comment here on YouTube. Now let's talk with our guest. We kick off our conversation with the inspiration behind the podcast.
The inspiration behind Business of Athletes was really just my own career, and then watching some of my friends go through their football career. So I went to Vanderbilt University. I was there for 5 years. I ended up getting my undergraduate and my graduate from Vanderbilt. And, a lot of the things that they told us on the recruiting journey was that, you had to prepare for not just the next 4 years athletically, but for the next 40. And so when you get on the other side of that, when you get your degree in your hand and you start looking at, what life will look like, sometimes you get the opportunity to go play in the league and continue your career, which I've been blessed to have. And in other situations, you don't, right? And so in that case, when you don't, I've noticed that there's a bit of a lag time, a bit of you go through an anxiety, or, you don't really know what you can do or what you want to do. And there's a little bit of hesitation between jumping out into the real world of, getting into corporate or becoming an entrepreneur. And so I just thought that over the years I had built a pretty good network of people who had done it successfully, and I just wanted to tell those stories. That was the real inspiration behind that, was telling the stories of people who had gone out on faith, taken those chances, built companies, built organizations that are now bringing a lot of value. So I just really wanted to tell those stories, build those platforms, because it's really interesting to me. It's really entrepreneurship, business, finance. Those are all things that, my wife would tell you, I'll sit there like after work and I'll just watch YouTube videos, and it's just interesting to me. So I just kind of wanted to share my passion for, business, finance, entrepreneurship, and just allow some of my friends and some of the people in my network to tell their stories through my platform.
And whatever someone is curious about is often a good sign of where to start with content creation. Like, you don't have to be an expert on something. Like, it can be a process of following your curiosity and just making it more tangible and real into something that you're also building and participating and contributing to that world, which for you, finance, business, entrepreneurship. And how did you bring that initial spark of an idea of, like, I want to tell these stories, I'm super passionate about this area, I'm interested, into a concept, like into this name, brand, Business of Athletes? Was it an immediate aha moment, or did it take some time for you to get from idea to actual brand and concept?
It definitely took some time. I think when I graduated, I had this idea, I definitely wanted to help college athletes at the time, or people that are in college athletics. I wanted to help them see what was possible. I just didn't know how. And so as I think about it, and I'm ideating, and I just kind of want to do something, I think it's maybe 1 or 2 years goes by, and I'm just kind of thinking about, what can I do? And that's a great point you made there about not being an expert, because I'm not an expert in business. I'm not an expert in finance. It's just some hobbies, right? So, I get to Chicago, and I'm talking with my friend, my teammate, Darrington Evans, who's also a friend. Let me not say teammate in that place, but my teammate and friend, Darrington Evans, and he streams. He plays video games, and he streams, and he's built a pretty good community doing that. So we're just talking, and I'm talking about, things I'd like to do, and he's like, oh man, you need to do this. You need to just go ahead and start. Like, he's just giving me, encouragement to start. So I realized that I wasn't going to have a bunch of time when camp came, and when the season came. So really, really the first step in building it was tapping in with the right people, getting, a great producer on my side, a great team, somebody who can chop up the video and put the content in a nice looking package. That was big. He helped me get a lot of this equipment that has got the quality looking like it does. So I really think the first thing is just people. It's like having the right people on your team to help you bring your ideas to fruition. So that would be the what I would say the first step is, and then just planning and writing it down, and then just executing, sending out those emails and texts, not being afraid to hear the word no, and just kind of going for it. I don't really know, like, the podcasting space is new. It's still new to me. A couple episodes in, and it's going well, but like I'm still figuring it out. So not being afraid to fail and hear the word no, and just trying it, just going for it.
Yeah, there is a certain point in, I guess, creating or being a marketer or brand builder that it's like you think about it for a long time, and then you just have to have this like fuck it moment, basically. Like, I'm just gonna do it. Like, I am posting about it, so I'm like held accountable. I'm sending out asks to people, like, before I have the equipment. Like, start before you're ready, I think, is a common theme that I'm hearing from guests. Is like the best way to create is to just start, as corny as that sounds, but it actually helps a lot of us get out of analysis paralysis and into execution. And before we move forward into some of these pieces that you talked about in terms of how you brought the podcast to life, did you have experience in content creation before? You're new to podcasting, but through your Instagram or other channels, were you a really active content creator prior to podcasting?
I would say yes and no. So like in the sense of, I just posted stuff that I was doing, like just random life stuff. I did that all the time. Sometimes probably more than I should have. But in like the formal sense of like putting out a bunch of information and having it formalized, no, I didn't really do it like that. I just posted a lot of life stuff. But Alex, man, and who Alex has been great in kind of helping me put it together in a way that just makes sense and flows, and he's just really talented. So yeah, to answer that question, yes and no. I did it a lot. Yeah. Just being funny, got to get a lot of laughs from the homies and stuff like that. But other than that, I didn't really do anything formal.
Yeah, and I think podcasting marks an evolution for a lot of creators. I think it is a first step for a lot of people from going from social media and like their personal brand into real active content creation, where they are focused on educating or entertaining an audience, or a combination of both. They have a schedule, they have a roadmap, they have a plan, they have a monetization strategy. And you talked about your plan earlier. What did the initial plan for Business of Athletes look like? Does it look like what you're doing now, or was it completely different? And I mean like the first variation of it.
So the first variation was gonna be me talking about NIL news, like whatever's going on in NIL. I'm going to talk about like the new rules, the new deals, and just kind of, that was going to be my way of helping college athletes that, are currently playing, and kind of just giving them game through that. And then as I talked to Alex and got like a broader plan for how many, episodes I should do, and, what the content would really look like, it got broader. It turned more into, like I said before, taking my friends that I already have, my network that I already have, and telling their stories and letting that be a way to kind of give game to the younger generation of athletes, to let them know what they could do. So it started as NIL. It started as just like, okay, I want to do, an NIL news network. That was really the first idea. Me and Darrington, that we were talking about Me, Darrington, and Isaiah over the summer we were talking about it, and it was the NIL News Network. Yeah, as maybe I'll come back to that, but it didn't turn into that. So
No, it is funny to like look back on and that's why I asked like what was the original idea, because I do find that often in the process of starting like concept to like actual execution, there are moments in bringing a podcast to life, whether it's in starting to plan for guests or for episodes or thinking about marketing, where you either get new ideas or you think of a better way to do what you're trying to accomplish. And I think what you have uncovered is that the best place to think about building a differentiated podcast brand is doing something that's unique to you, right?
Yeah.
So it's like only you have your network. Only I have my network. Only insert other podcaster has their network. And that can be a huge differentiator when you're getting started, as opposed to covering general topic and theory and industry, which is something a lot of people can do. I feel like interview podcasts give you an opportunity to put your own twist to it. It helps you be comfortable with guests when you're starting. And so it is definitely a good place to begin when you're podcasting. And from landing on Business of Athletes, you have the concept. Was this prior to the NFL season starting? Where were you at that point? Because I'd love to hear like how you thought about like, will I be able to do this with the NFL?
Yeah, no, this was definitely prior to. So a lot of the interviews, maybe I'll say about half of the interviews were done before the season. We're done really before camp. And then I put a lot of them together like maybe on the off days when we got into the season. But I just knew I had to get them in the vault, like have them and then roll it out. The plan was to roll it out during the season like we have, just because, the NFL season is so demanding. Like, and there's just like anything, is a process to it. So like you get into your Monday and then your Tuesday. It's Tuesday today. You have your off day. And your off day is a lot of like body work and recovery, and you just want to rest. So I just knew that I didn't want to fill up my off days during the season with it, and having Alex to really manage and do a lot of the editing and pushing it out has really been helpful. But a lot of that was in the preseason. I had to go ahead and, like, when I got the idea, it was probably like OTAs around that area, and then when I really started filming, we had a break right before camp, and so that was when that was.
Yeah, I think that's key and helpful for college athletes or professional athletes that are listening to this. That's a strategy that I've heard from a few athletes that are podcasters, is batch creating is so important and so helpful to, one, give you runway as a content creator and not get in the cycle of starting a newsletter or a podcast and having to produce something every single week from the moment you press play. Because you kind of have a leg up. Basically, you can think high level when the things are going and plan for the podcast more strategically. So athlete or not, actually, I 100% recommend batch creating, and that's what we're doing right now.
Right.
We are in a recording marathon.
Right, because at the end of the day, my main thing is on the field, right? And so if I'm not producing there, then, everything just kind of goes to hell in a handbasket. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't let that slack. So I had to find a way to be efficient with my time, and really just, like you said, front load, get some runway, and just kind of get it out the way and give yourself some breathing room. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So preseason, we have Business of Athletes. Walk us through how you thought about the role this podcast would play for your business side of your athlete journey. Not to say the name of your podcast, but how did you think about the business opportunity that would come from this? Were you pursuing this as a creative outlet to start, or did you go into it with a full-fledged business plan of, I want to start with content and build it out and grow it into these different ventures? What was your intent entering?
So I think the intent was, at first, was just creative, right? I do think that there's an opportunity to eventually monetize here and grow it, but right now it's just strictly creative and strictly storytelling. I think the business side of it, it'll grow as I get a better handle on like everything that goes into this business and like how it all works. And you have a better understanding of that than me. Uh, and I'm just really trying to, like, as we talked before we started filming, like really just trying to pick up gems from people like you, from people like Alex, um, Brandon Copeland. I talked to him. He's been in the space for a long time, just teaching and creating. So as I pick up gems, I think the business part of it will change, but it was really just creative at first. I just wanted to tell stories. I wanted to highlight what other people have done, post career and even during their career, because a big thing about seeing yourself as like through a different identity is knowing that it's possible, right? So if I'm a NFL athlete, and I don't think I've never seen somebody be an NFL athlete and an investor and a real estate investor and a creator, then I don't think it's possible. But I'm fortunate enough that I was able to catch a profile like Brandon Copeland and see what he had been doing for years before I even met him and before I even got to, interview him. And so I think it'll be important, like your interview, it'll be important for a young women's basketball or even volleyball or soccer, whatever it is. I think it'll be important for somebody to see a Kirby Porter and go through her journey and elaborate on her journey and become a creator and a founder, right? And say, you know what, I can do that. So it's really just creative and just to highlight stories, right? So that people could see themselves in, the people in my network and say, you know what, I can be an investor. I can be a real estate investor. I can be a creator. I can create a nonprofit like a mall did. It was really just about storytelling, and it's still just about that. And as I learn more from the business side, I think the business plan will grow.
Absolutely. I do think there's so much value in having your first podcast, depending on where you are in your journey. But I do think there is value in having it be purely a creative outlet, because I think, one, it alleviates some pressure, but two, it allows you to really like harness in on your skill sets as a storyteller, as a host, as a creator, and really build up the muscle. Because I think that is the most powerful part of these platforms. It's like you're able to take people that you have learned from, people in your network, and share that with the world. And as you get better and better and better at the content creation side, it'll be like, okay, cool, we got that. Now you'll have a better view, even holistically, of how to monetize it. So I think that's an interesting nugget for people to pick up on, that sometimes it's great to focus on the skill development aspect of it and let the money come as it comes. So we are now entering this part of the interview where we're going to talk about what I think are the 4 key pieces to a great podcast. One is interview podcast specifically. 1 is guest. 2 is digital brand presence. 3 is the host preparation. And then 4 is ongoing content marketing and distribution. And we've talked about guest a little bit and your thought process behind that and the value of storytelling. I would maybe love to focus on this first piece, how you got over the fear of no and how you reached out to your guests for your podcast. Was that hard, nerve-wracking, or was it just a seamless process for you?
So because like a lot of my guests I knew personally, the no was like, oh, okay. Like if they say no, I get it. I respect their time. And honestly, outside of that, like I would say that's kind of how I kind of, get by. Like I don't really have the fear of hearing no. I'm cool. You tell me no, cool. It's like really no skin off my back. So I don't really have that fear. Like if I've reached out to people and they just, they haven't responded, or, it's really no skin off my back, because like you said, it's purely a creative outlet to provide value. So I'm not really pressed about like making money right now or trying to monetize. So yeah, it really wasn't that big of a deal to reach out to people in my network and say, hey, can I get 30, 45 minutes of your time? And most of the time I heard yes. So, I was fortunate in that respect. And I just think I've always been the type to ask questions, not care about looking stupid, not care about hearing the word no, not care about, the rejection piece, because it is what it is. You get a thousand no's, but you get 10 yeses. That's still 10 yeses.
That's all you need. And that's a helpful tip for new podcasters too, that the best place to start is sometimes your immediate network or the people that you've connected through the passion that you're talking about. I know some people want to like get the big guest and do the cold outreach, which is helpful, but I think just like getting those wins and like stacking early wins as a new podcaster is such a great way to build momentum for yourself and just gain confidence in your interview style. So that is something to take away from what Khari just said. Second piece of this is the digital brand presence. I have always just been like impressed by the like social media basically for Business of Athletes. Did you have a creative vision when you were concepting of like, this is how I want it to show up in the world when I'm publishing? Or did it kind of just come as you were creating?
No, I knew how I wanted it to look before. Like I said, I spend a lot of time on YouTube, watching content, picking up, different styles and different, pieces of information, really, because YouTube's really educational for me. So as I watch, I see things that I like, I see things that I don't like, and I knew how I wanted it to look. I knew how I wanted like my setup to look. I knew kind of like the musical vibe, like on the intro that I wanted, and so just really bringing that to life. Like I said before about partnerships, Alex really did a great job of like kind of giving me everything that I wanted from a branding perspective, from how the videos were edited, the technical side of that. Like I'm not really good at like technology and like doing stuff like that. So he really is like, he's the magic behind, Business of Athletes when it comes to making it look how it looks. And so I'm really glad that I was able to connect with him. And I connected with him through an athlete, a friend that I had growing up named Cameron Rice. So, it's just, I think to answer your question, I knew exactly how I wanted it to look, and then bringing it to life has really been all Alex.
Absolutely. Two key things here. One, great creators are great consumers of content. So I think people that have the best ideas or really great presentation or really great execution spend a lot of time either researching or studying other creators, because it allows them to like shape their style, find their way, but also figure out like people are already doing the homework, right? Like figure out what is working, what is not working, and you can kind of customize it to what you want to do. So I think that's key. And a common theme from this, this conversation here is the importance of team and finding people early on to collaborate with or outsource or delegate. Especially with podcasting, there are a lot of moving pieces. As you know, there are a lot of moving pieces, and there is a lot to like bring the episode or season like from 0 to 1. And I feel like people don't realize until they like get into the nitty gritty of like, okay, I have to reach out to this person, I have to prepare for the interview, I have to record the interview, I have to edit the content, I have to create the social media, all these things. And having people that are better than you in some areas can really alleviate pressure from you as a creator to be the best at what you do, which is host, which is the next piece of this. I think there is a style of interviews that like works for some people, where it's like they're just like winging it and it's just like a conversation between some bros. But I really do think that the best podcasters are the ones that have longevity, definitely put a lot into the preparation. And so I'd love to hear, like, especially as a new content creator, really, what was that journey like for you in figuring out how to host a podcast? And then what did your preparation process look like in execution?
So figuring out how to host was, like I said before, just watching. I feel like I like to talk. Like that's always been my thing. Elementary school, getting in trouble for talking in class. Like I've just always been a talker. So it's not hard for me to flow that way. But the preparation part was really big for me. So for example, when I was preparing for our podcast, I was on LinkedIn, I was on your Twitter, went to your Instagram. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting everything that I can that I think might flow, so that when we are having a conversation, it does feel like we're homies. You know, it does feel like a conversation between bros, because I know so much about what you've done before, or, you know, what you're doing now. Like, that's how I hope to prepare for it, and, you know, prepare questions. And I do kind of prepare them in a way that, you know, it flows and segues, but I'm still learning that. So I think it's a mixture of both. It's a mixture of wanting it to be conversational and wanting it to just be kind of a back and forth. But I feel like I go stalk the person on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, anything that they put out. I try to go find it. TikTok, Trey Fields was big on TikTok, so I went and stalked his TikTok and just kind of, you know, wanted to talk to him about some of the content that he's posted before the interview. So I think it's a mixture of just trying to get to know the person through their content, crafting some questions that'll be creative and allow the conversation to flow, and then just having a conversation as if you know the person, as if you've known the person for years. And I think that's been my approach this season. I think I'm always open to it changing. And one thing that I do after the pod is that I try to ask, what is it that I could have done to make you feel more comfortable? I can't remember if I asked you that question. I think I did, but on after our interview, I just, you know, what is it that I can do to improve how comfortable you feel, the flow of the conversation, and whatever they give me, I you know, I write it down, and I think about it, and I try to apply it to my next at bat. You know, I think it's just kind of like sports, right? You have an opportunity, you try to go make the play, and, you know, if you make the play, you look at how you could have made it better, and if you don't make the play, you look at what caused you to go wrong so that you make it the next time. And so as long as I keep getting opportunities to interview people, that's the approach I'm going to take. I'm going to just try to keep getting better each time I interview and just see where that lands me.
Seeking constructive criticism as a creator is like definitely a growth hack, and it can be scary in the beginning of actually like seeking feedback from people of like, what am I not doing that like I should be doing, or what can I get better at? But it is literally just like sports. Like it helps you just level up like in every single way. So that's super important. And also on the guest preparation piece, getting a feel for the person before through their social media like really helps you come into it like conversationally, and then also helps you not feel too tied to the script, you know? Like, I think it's so helpful to have, like, I guess, blocks of these are the key topics that I want to hit during the interview. But if the conversation is flowing in a different direction and, like, you can take it there because you've done your research, do that. And that really just comes through putting in the work beforehand. So this last piece here is about the marketing. And obviously there's like a formula now for video podcasts. Like, you record the long video, you get a lot of short form clips from like the good pieces, you distribute them across YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, etc. So for this part, I'd actually love to learn more about what the experience has been like for you seeing the brand grow on social media, and like what opportunities or commentary or feedback that you have heard about the brand since it has been out in the market.
Man, it's okay. So that part's been really cool. So I didn't really have an expectation for how many views or, you know, each video I wanted to get. So seeing like your view, I think it was like maybe a week or two in, it had 129 views. That was huge. You know, I did one with one of my friends, Braden. His is doing well. You know, he pushes things out on LinkedIn and everything. So seeing it grow has been really cool for me. I really like to think that the people who are watching it are getting value from it. So that's been pretty rewarding, is knowing that there are people who are going in and they're actually going to watch a 30-minute episode that we put together. So I really think shorts perform better than the long form. I like seeing the long form perform well. Like I said, with your video, getting as many views as it did, and subsequent videos doing the same. But I think shorts is gonna be where I focus going forward. You know, in our video, I can remember as we were talking, I was like, oh, what she said right there is going to make a great Instagram reel. And Instagram reels do really well. So it's really just about learning that. And, you know, Alex is very, I know I've mentioned him several times, but he's very tapped into all of that. So he has the blueprint. He understands, you know, how to market things, how to make the videos, the desired length that they need to be. So, so yeah, I'm really interested in as I get more content, really doubling down on shorts. And then like we talked about before, just, you know, LinkedIn, getting some written content with the video content and pushing it out so that, you know, maybe if somebody doesn't have the 30 minutes, they can still interact with the platform through some of the written content. So yeah, that would be what the focus would be moving forward.
Definitely. And I know we were talking about this before we pressed record, but like Business of Athletes, huge alignment with LinkedIn, and there's so many cool things that you could do there around repurposing the content, starting newsletters, and like you said, like meeting people where they are. I think all creators or podcasters in general, it's like you want to start on one platform, get it right, figure out what your bread and butter is going to be almost. And then it's like, how can you customize the core asset of content into different channels to basically just increase the touch points? So that is exciting, and I'm excited to see the expansion into LinkedIn next year. So the last piece of this before we do our advice rapid fire is what the expansion for you as a professional athlete into content creation has looked like, and what opportunities you think it has opened up for you in terms of your brand and business opportunities so far.
So I think business opportunities, you know, outside of the media space, I think it just kind of gives people more insight into the things that I'm interested in, right? So like, you know, I played at Vanderbilt, got my master's, all of that, and that's cool, but nobody knows unless they know, right? And so you can't be afraid to like toot your own horn a little bit. I know that might sound a little arrogant, but there's just things like you have to be willing to say, hey, look, this is what I do, this is what I've done, and this is what I'm good at. And I think by putting out media, you know, by jumping into this topic that you might not typically see an NFL athlete diving into, there. I mean, there are guys, right? We talked about Brandon Copeland, but I think it just lets people know who've known me before, like say, oh, he's serious about this. Like he knows a little bit more than I thought at the beginning. So I think it just opens up opportunities and letting people know that this is what you're about, right? Nobody can come and say, hey, I got this opportunity for you if they don't know you're interested, if they don't know that you're actually playing that ball game. You know, business opportunities through the podcast, you know, I'm always looking for an opportunity when I meet somebody, if they have some ideas or some passions that align, I'm always looking to just tap in and really, as they help me grow my platform, I'm hoping that I can help them grow theirs as well. You know, as I play, you know, I don't know what my career holds. You know, football is a violent sport. You know, injuries happen all the time. You know, knock on wood. But you know, I really just hope that I can use the attention and the eyes that I get from being partnered with great organizations like the Bears and the NFL. Like, use the crest, use the logo, use where I am, use my platform to help people build theirs. And so, business wise, that's kind of what I'm looking at. I don't know if I've given you the best answer as far as like monetization or anything like that, but that's just kind of where my head is now. That's kind of the lane I see myself in now. It's just helping my peers grow theirs. And like making it be synergistic, like we grow together as peers, and then see where it ends up in the end.
Yeah, and no, that's a great answer, because business value doesn't always come in the form of money. It can come in the form of personal brand building and credibility and growth, which I think pays off like massively in the long term. And then it can also come in the form of network, like the network that you're going to build through the podcast might open up more lucrative doors than like a sponsorship for an episode, right? So it's like, what type of game are you playing with your content? And I 100% encourage people that are new to podcasting, that might have smaller audiences to not just view the monetary benefits of it, like objectively or quantitatively, I might say, and also think about the professional development or just network opportunities that come about. And also, like, I have to just like double down on the point of you have to let people know what you're about in order for them to help you as an athlete or as a creator. I know, starting out, it's so easy to be like, well, why doesn't anybody see, like, I'm interested in this, or like, I want to be in this. Like, you have to, like, there's so much going on in this world. And so you have to make it very clear and obvious what you're about, where you're trying to go, who you want to help, how you can add value to other people.
I agree with you 100% because, about letting people know what you're about. My dad always, there's two things we used to say in my house. My dad would always say the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So if something's wrong and nobody knows, nobody hears, they can't assist you, right? And, me and my mom, my sister, we always say closed mouths don't get fed. You have to go out and let people know what you want, what you're about, and just go chase it, And the piece you said about, like, networking, like, I heard it somewhere. I can't remember where I heard it. I would like to credit who I heard this from. But a lot of times people are trying to network vertically, and they're trying to network and climb like a certain position, when really you should network horizontally. You should network with the people that are right beside you and help provide them value. Because in that is like, as time goes, like you said, now you've built that connection, you've built this one, and as people move up, so do you. And as you move up, you pull with you. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like just, oh, let me go to the person who already has it together and try to get them to build my platform, So that's kind of how I look at it.
Absolutely. And then it's so fun watching, like, the people that you build with horizontally all elevate together.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, like, we're really doing it,
Yeah.
And so, but it's like people that you meet 4 years ago when we were all kind of doing nothing. Not nothing, but like we were just starting. Right. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just kind of how I look at it. And I don't say that to put any, like, different hierarchies on, what anybody is doing at all, or what I'm doing. I'm not saying I'm below anybody. I'm not saying I'm above anybody. I'm just saying, there are people I have access to and that are peers, and I want to help them, and I think they can help me, and I want to just create value in whatever this marketplace is that we have, this new social media, digital marketplace, which you know all too well about, the creator economy. I maybe am not articulating that the best, but I want to get into this economy and into this space and just see where I can help and what I can, try to build. So
yes. Creator domination in sports is here, as I always say. And that's a perfect last question before our advice rapid fire. Where do you want to take your path in the creator economy as a professional athlete with business of athletes? Like, zoom out 2-5 years. What do you see this becoming?
If I zoom out 2-5 years, I see I'm still doing interview style podcasts, but that's just one arm. I think in the future, when I'm done with football, I'd like to do financial consulting. That's one of my biggest passions right now and hobbies. Like, I just really like learning as much as I can about that. I talk with my friends about it all the time, and I just feel like I've helped people, get a grasp on their finances, kind of informally, by sharing different courses that I've taken and different little pieces of information that I find. And so I want to grow into making that a part of the media, right? Where I'm putting out media that helps, that educates. And, I think those are the two things that I see right now. Like, I really want to grow those two things side by side. I don't want to abandon the interview piece, because I just think that there are so many people doing so many different things. There's ways to eat by hunting a bunch of different animals, right? I just because I like finance and stocks and maybe a little bit of real estate, there's always something else that you can go and you can be fulfilled in and have a great career, and there's people doing it, and I don't see myself ever not highlighting that. So as the platform changes and grows, I think I'll do that. But I definitely want to get into the financial, consulting and educating space as well when I'm done playing football.
Absolutely. I see a whole course empire for business of athletes on personal finance. And I think that's also a great piece too around keeping the content as a flywheel for business. As platforms grow, I think a lot of creators begin to expand into different revenue streams and stand up different verticals. But similar to football and like having this being like the side thing and football is your main thing, as you transition out, it's like podcasting or content is kind of like the main thing, but keeps the engine going over time, and you can add other things, but it's always going to just make it all better. So why not keep at it?
Absolutely.
All right. Advice rapid fire. These are notes to your younger self, basically.
Okay.
And we want to hear, what advice would you give to yourself when you were making the first plan for your podcast?
Spend more time doing deep work on it. You'll move a lot faster. There are times where I would maybe be watching something and, writing in my notebook and, getting ideas. But I would say cut out all distractions and do deep work, and you'll move a lot faster.
Ooh, yep.
I appreciate it.
All right. What advice would you give to yourself when you were preparing to interview your first guest?
Relax more. Be more conversational. I think you were my first guest. It was either you or Amal was my first guest. And be way more conversational. I wish if I could go back and do our interview over again, it would look a lot like this one. You do a great job, and you are. I need to steal something out of your bag, and I'm gonna go back and watch this one when you drop it and try to steal some of your interview style. So that it put a little bit of that in my bag.
Right. I mean, honestly, like I've done podcasting before, and I joined a bunch of people in their podcast, but for some reason, like I'm nervous right now, so I hope it's not showing up in this.
Not at all. It doesn't come through at all. It doesn't come through at all.
Good. All right, last one. What advice would you give to yourself when you were figuring out how to balance your podcast and being in the NFL?
I would say like we did. I would say front loaded, and just don't waste as much time. There's days that I wasted time not sending the emails, not reaching out. And another thing I would say, put the systems into place. Like you do a great job of having the systems, having Calendly, and just really being organized. I need to be more organized. That's what I would tell myself then, and I would tell myself now, is find systems and find things to be more organized, because that'll just clear a lot of mental tabs open, so you can just lock in on preparing for the interview and not having to say, oh, let me go back to this email and see what time we said, or let me go to my calendar and do this. Just find ways to be more productive, to streamline, to be more efficient. That's what I would say.
I have this whole Notion dashboard of like guest, where we are in the process, the interview preparation, and I totally agree. I think back to like my first podcast, and I felt like I was always on a hamster wheel. Like, I gotta email this person, I gotta schedule this person, and it was chaos city basically. And like this time I'm like, before I do anything we are doing process, because it makes it, one, more enjoyable, and then two, just more smooth and helpful to scale. So
absolutely
appreciate this. This was so much fun. I hope somebody listening to this feels inspired to start a podcast and to get organized and to batch create and to front load their content, all the tips that we have dropped here. But most importantly, just see the power of storytelling and what it can do for your personal brand as an athlete and business opportunities down the line. So thank you so much for joining us. Where can people support you?
People can support me. They can go to my personal KB_23. That's my personal Instagram. On Twitter, it's Khari Blasingame, just my name. And Business of Athletes on all platforms. It's just Business of Athletes. No hashtags, no underscores, just Business of Athletes. So that's where you can go find the content. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm jealous of that handle. It's pretty good. But thank you, Khari. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.